Hey y'all, I'm Elisa.
And I'm Samantha.
And welcome to Watch for Deer. Welcome back to Watch for Deer, y'all. Happy Tuesday. If you haven't noticed, we've decided to flip when we release episodes.
Well, I did some Googling. I went to Google University.
Whoop, whoop.
And it says that the days that you should drop are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And so we were dropping on Fridays just because we really love a Friday.
I like a Friday.
But it makes sense. It actually makes more sense to me to drop on a Monday. That way people have, if they, they have all week to listen.
All
which
week.
Doesn't really, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make sense because you still, if you drop on Friday, you still have all week to
week.
Right.
Well, I think it's the beginning of the work week.
Right.
Like people probably listen, or at least I know I listen to my podcast on my way to work.
Yeah.
So that's probably why those days are popular.
Probably so. So what podcast do you listen to?
So I have been listening to Morbid and a couple of sassholes.
I know you love Morbid and a couple of sassholes. I do too.
And I've got one that I just followed, and I can't remember the name of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's called After Dark or something.
Mm-hmm. That sounds sleazy.
It does.
It does sound sleazy.
But I haven't started. I followed it, and I haven't got to listen to it yet because I've been listening to some audiobooks as research.
Oh my God. I don't know with everything that you do how you find the time to do everything that you do, but you do.
But I do.
And I said do.
I do.
Yeah. So you posted something on Facebook the other day.
I did.
That had like a lot of women
around
around here.
Comments.
A lot of women up in here riled up. They were riled up.
They were.
So the thing that you posted was pretty much, this is not verbatim, but pretty much was when you have small children or young teenage, whatever, and you take their friends with them, do you, as a parent that has the kid with them, do you pay for everything? Like if you take them out to eat or take them to the park or like a
movie or whatever.
Whatever it is you do,
yep.
Do you foot the bill for that? And
yep,
kinda.
I do. I mean, if I have your kid and your kid's with me, they're my kid. Like,
right.
I'm going to treat them just like my kid.
So, but the text message thing that you showed was...
That was bonkers.
She was charging. She had sent a text message to the mom, and it was pretty much, well, let's just want to make sure that we square up on this. And, she had a snack, so that was $2. And, she went to the bathroom, and each time
Wear
she went
and tear on the couch, $1.
It was $1. Bathroom was like $1 each time for the toilet paper and soap she used. Like it was, it
an
came
itemized
It was
receipt.
An itemized receipt from the mom. Yeah, for
asking her, she was like, you can pay me Venmo $15 for the expenses.
Yeah.
And the other mom texts back, and she was like, expenses?
Yeah,
for the coloring supplies, and they painted and all this stuff. And listen, I'm pretty sure if I'd have got that text, I'd been like, no, man, we ain't coming back.
Well, right.
No.
But then I commented on there that's happened to me.
That has happened to me, which blew my mind.
So I'm not going to mention any names whatsoever, and I'm not even going to mention the child that it happened to.
Yep.
My child that it happened to, it was a few years ago. They went and visited somebody out of state.
Yep.
Far, far away from West Virginia.
Yep.
And I purchased that child's plane ticket because he is my child.
Yep.
And he went and stayed with a friend's family member. Him and the friend went and stayed with the family member. He had money. And, he went for a week and a half. The parent of said friend took my child to all kinds of expensive places, which is fine. My child had money to pay for that stuff.
Right.
Right? Because I sent him with plenty enough money.
Yeah.
He had money to pay for it. The parent said, no, don't worry about it. I've got this. So the kid ended up spending money on other stuff because you know how the kids are.
Which
they
they're
blow,
like,
they
hey,
blow
I
their
can
money.
blow money.
Right. I've got all this extra money. I'm going to blow it.
Yeah, I'm going shopping.
Kid comes home. And a week later, I got a text, an itemized text from the parent to the tune of $400.
This just blows my freaking mind.
Yeah.
Literally, like, blows my mind.
Yeah. So
Especially if he said, I've got it, don't worry about it. I'd have been like, listen, you've got it, don't worry about it.
She's flipping me off right now. So I mailed a check. The funny thing that kind of about this is, too, that the state that it was in, it was not close to here at all. So, and people don't really like this state. They kind of look down upon this state. I mean, I know, especially West Virginia, we do. We look down upon this state.
Yes.
And the person is semi-famous in their world. It's not, they're on TV all the time. And not just here, like they're on TV.
Like TV.
TV.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of blew my mind. I told you the person's name and I was like, Google it and stuff. I'm just not going to. The reason I'm not going to say anything on here is because it happened years ago.
Yeah, it's over and done with.
It's over. And I don't want to embarrass my kid. But it was shocking to me. And I think the reason it's shocking to us, Elisa, is because here in West Virginia, and I think maybe some, Kentucky, Ohio, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Southern
hospitality,
like, we've got you. You're invited to our home,
and we've got you. We're gonna feed you.
If we're gonna go somewhere expensive and you're here, if we don't have the money to pay for that child, then none of us goes.
Right.
None of us
exactly.
goes.
We just do something else.
Right. I don't think. No, I'm pretty sure that's not the mentality all over the United States. I think that it is in the southern part for the most part. I'm sure you've got some of these women who are absolute witches. But for the most part, I think that it's Southern hospitality or whatever, and you go over to the West Coast, and that's not even, because people don't care for each other.
Well, everybody's about paying your share.
Yeah.
It's like, over here in West Virginia, like, we share everything.
Yeah, we do.
We share everything.
Yes. If I have extra, you have extra.
That's right.
Yeah. That's exactly how
dinner,
it is.
I eat dinner.
And you don't have to give me $10 for your
That's
hamburger.
Right. And I'm like, when I leave, she don't text me and be like, you got lettuce and tomato and mayo, and you owe me this, this, and this.
That's crazy.
It is bonkers to
But
me.
yeah, that did happen to me. And all those women on that Facebook post, they were like,
are you serious?
Are you serious? I can't imagine that. I take my kids' friends, if we can't afford to take the friends when we just don't take the friend.
Well, like, even if I was planning on taking my family to the pool is expensive anymore. It's not like when I went to the pool for a couple dollars. Right. It's expensive.
It is expensive. Plus, all the food and snacks you have to take.
If my kids were like, yeah, let's go to the pool and take so-and-so. If I had kids and I couldn't afford the pool, I'd be like, all right, we going to the lake because the lake is free.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, so you pivot.
Yeah. So that has happened to me before. And I think that, that was a life lesson. You meet people out in the world and you realize that they are not like you. But I was shocked when I got that text. I actually looked for the text, and it was so long ago, and I couldn't find it. Well, I didn't have their number stored in my phone.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you got people like that out. That text, I know we were like, "There's no way." Yes, way. Yes, way.
That's just mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling. So you guys need to comment and let us know what your opinion is. Mm-hmm. Would you want somebody else to help you foot the bill, or is it, your kid's my kid and I got you?
Right.
Look. So I just wanted to say that your peckernat's back.
Is it?
I just seen it flying around.
I don't know. I feel bad now for saying that, but I've always... Here's the thing, too. And let me say, I see it there flying around. I don't even know what it is. It's fruit fly, Lisa.
Yes, that's what it is.
So I say these things, right? Mm-hmm. And that flew out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. But the weird thing about being a teacher? The weird thing about being a teacher is that I would have said fruit fly in class. But here, it's peckernat. And let me tell you something else, too. The strange thing about being a teacher is that it's like when you walk into that building... You change.
Your persona.
Your persona changes.
You change into teacher Sammy.
Yeah, I change into
Miss Stevens.
Mrs. Stevens. And my friends always say, like on the last day of school, I always get these text message, be like, is Summer Sammy back? And I'm like, because let me tell you something.
Summer Sammy's a blast.
Summer Sammy and Mrs. Stevens don't know each other.
They don't.
They do not know each other.
Don't.
No. Mm-mm. From the middle of August until the 1st of June, I am... for the most part, super reserved, super responsible, But I'm telling you, June, July, and the 1st of August,
She got
Summer
that teacher
Sam.
etiquette going on.
I got that tan.
And then as soon as she walks out them school doors, she was like, y'all better clean your peckers. You're going to get pecker gnats.
I did not say that.
All right. So enough of that. So let's get to the story today. We're going to dive into what will certainly be sort of a mini-series. In order to give it the justice it deserves, I'm going to break it down into multiple parts. And I'm hoping for no more than 3, but only time and research will really tell like how many parts we have to this.
But it won't be consecutively, right? Because I know, like...
No, it won't. Right. No, they'll be labeled, they'll be labeled and you'll be able to know, but there may be some episodes in between these parts.
Yeah. And we won't leave on a cliffhanger. It's not going to live on a cliffhanger. It's just all going to tie in together.
Everything's going to tie in together. Well, you'll understand once I start talking about the story. It's a doozy.
Okay.
So there's a lot to it. And just to give it the justification that it deserves, we're just going to have to take our time and feed you bit by bit.
Okay, so I can already tell it's going to be about a serial killer because I can just see the expression on her face. She's got them wild eyes.
Wild eyes.
She got those wild eyes.
She got them wild, crazy eyes. It was May 16th of 1861 in New Hampshire.
Oh, we're going back.
We're going back to the 1800s in New Hampshire, in a little village called Gilmanton. Theodate and Levi Mudgett welcomed their 4th child into the family, Herman Webster Mudgett. The Mudgetts were devout Methodists, and their children's upbringing would strictly be religious, which wasn't really uncommon given the times. As Herman grew, he showed much interest in his education and put in lots of hard work to ensure he got excellent grades. This led the other classmates to tease and bully him, which he could never get away from as they lived in a very small village. So it wasn't like, you go home and you get a break because everybody, I'm thinking there's like maybe 1,600 in this little town. Like there's not a lot. Mudgett was a very bright young man and he had huge ambitions. However, he had always been deeply obsessed with money and desired to, quote, be someone to look up to and be respected. Herman recalls an event of bullying that helped shape the man who he would become. There was a doctor's office containing jars of human organs and other curiosities that was truly frightening to any 5-year-old. The smells of formaldehyde and other staunch smells were always a place to avoid. One day after school, the bullies cornered him and drug him back to the doctor's office and thrust him into the arms of a skeleton, which at the time he was terrified of. Keep in mind, back in the 1800s, we didn't have these fake skeletons to study. These were actual human skeletons.
Oh, really?
That these doctors had articulated and had for educational purposes.
Ew.
So, this was an actual human skeleton, and he can remember as they're dragging him forward, dragging him to the skeleton, this particular skeleton was articulated to where it had its hands out. So could you imagine being a 5-year-old and somebody dragging you into this stinky, funky smelling doctor's office, thrusting you into the arms of this human skeleton, and then using its hands to caress your face while you scream in terror?
No.
Sounds like a good time, doesn't it?
It sounds terrible.
Office workers heard the screams and broke up the harassment, but after this incident, Herman realized he had absolutely nothing to fear of the skeleton. He looked up and he stared at it in amazement as it had kind of piqued his curiosity. As you all know, I love to read, and I do a lot of my research through books. And I want to mention that in the book by Dane Ladwig, it's called Dr. H.H. Holmes and the Whitechapel Ripper, this incident is a bit more intense. Instead of a skeleton, replace it with an actual human cadaver that had been laid up on the table for dissection that this doctor was working on, and the boys grabbing the blanket and pulling it over on little 5-year-old Herman Mudgett.
So which one's true?
We We will never know.
Okay.
But that's the two stories. Regardless, to a 5-year-old, that's pretty terrifying.
I mean, I would think the dead body would be worse.
It would absolutely be worse. But at any rate, this is what created the intrigue that he would have for medicine and anatomy. Herman would graduate from high school at the age of 17 and move away from his small town. He would spend his time teaching and apprenticing under Dr. Wright, who was also a big advocate of human dissection as a tool for education. It was also noted in one of the books that I read that this was the same doctor whose cadaver had fallen on top of Herman when he was a boy. So this could be after that incident and he sees this dead body laying up on top of him. He becomes intrigued and curious, and then he goes and kind of, this doctor becomes his mentor. So that would make sense.
Does this kid start killing people?
I'm not telling you.
I'm sure he does.
So Herman had ice blue eyes that were piercing and could captivate anyone who looked his way. He had charisma and an arrogance about him that eventually would win many over.
The kids these days, it's not called charisma anymore.
It's called Riz.
It's Riz. He got that Riz.
He got that Riz.
He got that Riz.
That's what we're saying. He got that Riz.
Yeah, he got that Riz.
He was always confident and bold, and there was never a time that he was even flustered or agitated. He never lost his temper or anything. He never became worked up over anything, they said. Mudgett would meet and marry Clara Ladwig at the age of 17. They would move to Vermont, and Herman would later enroll at the University of Michigan, where he would study medicine. He excelled in chemistry and anatomy, and this college was the first to own its own hospital. It was here he would work and study cadavers, which also fed his intense interest in the human body. He was praised for his dissection techniques and the way he was devoted to death and dismemberment. This type of consistent and unhealthy exposure to dead bodies clearly helped him to become immune to it. He and Clara would later have a son, but with his studies, Herman became distant and even violent at times with his wife. Struggling financially and emotionally, Clara left Herman and returned to New Hampshire.
She left him back in the 70s now?
She left, yep. She took the baby and she left.
1870s, 1880s.
Peace.
I didn't even know that you could do that back then.
Well,
I mean, honestly, I didn't even know divorce, I didn't know you could.
She just left him. She didn't divorce him.
I know,
she just
but
went
still.
home. Right.
I mean, good for her. Good for her.
Yep, good for her.
I've always heard that there's a law around here that is still on the books.
I know what law you're talking about.
I've always heard this, that on if your wife did something, I actually heard it's still a law.
I heard you can still go to the courthouse and pull it up in the books. Seriously.
We need to check that out. But we need to tell them what it is.
Oh, yeah.
So apparently on Sunday or Monday.
It's Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm. If your wife has done something to piss you off.
Yep.
Throughout the week or whatever, you are allowed to take her to the courthouse lawn and beat her with a switch.
Yeah.
On Sunday mornings.
Yep.
That's when it's legal.
Repent.
I mean.
Repent.
Do you think that's true?
I don't know.
Wonder how we can find out.
We need to take a trip to the courthouse.
Okay, go ahead.
So, all right. So at any rate, Clara left Herman and she went to New Hampshire. Now, with his wife gone and him in financial trouble, he decides to turn to a new way to make some money. Oh. Working with cadavers, Herman decides to create life insurance scams using these bodies. He would find an old friend who, too, had been having financial hardships and convince this man to assist in the scheme, and they would then split the payout. The plan was for the wife and child of his friend to head west. The father would later drink himself to death and then head west as well, missing his family, and Herman would report the incident to the authorities. Mudgett and his friend had both said that they would procure bodies to turn into the insurance. Now, this deemed to be a little more difficult than Mudgett had thought. See, it was around this time that colleges and universities, along with doctors, private practicing doctors, were having issues obtaining cadavers to practice medicine on. So sometimes they would receive the bodies that had been robbed right out of the grave. This was such the case of two other famous killers, William Burke and William Hare. That's another story for another time. Mudgett had obtained his share of the bodies and had since had them in storage, moving them from place to place with him, all the while they were left decomposing, while he waited for his friend and partner in crime to acquire his share of the donation. So at this point in time, Mudgett has two bodies. He has a female body and he has a child's body that he has stored away, and he just ships them across the country. They're in a trunk, decomposing, and he's waiting for his friend to get the third body. That way he can file this insurance claim.
Here's another thing, too, and I'm sure this is going to make me sound ignorant, and I don't care. I didn't even know that life insurance was a thing back then.
Yeah.
Who would have thought it was a thing back then?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yep, it was.
I mean, that's actually more mind-boggling to me than the rest of this story. I'm actually more shook.
I'm more shook. They had life insurance.
That they had life insurance back then
Yep.
than I am about whatever it is you're getting ready to tell me.
Yep. Well, Mudgett winds up in Philadelphia, and he finds employment at a pharmacy. Now, one day, a child runs into the store claiming that a drug that they had picked up from the pharmacy that morning had killed their sibling, and they demanded a doctor be sent to the home. Now, Mudgett couldn't recall such medication, but he went ahead and he sent the doctor to their home right away. Then he packed up and he fled to Chicago. In Chicago, he was unable to find work as a pharmacist without passing an exam. So, at that point in time, he changes his name to Dr. H.H. Holmes. Mudgett, now known as Holmes, arrives at 701 63rd Street and finds a physician's wife, Miss Holton, who is running a drugstore. She explains to him that her husband, who was a doctor, was lying upstairs bedridden, dying with cancer. Holmes tells her that he's a doctor himself, and after having a conversation, she sells the business to him. She's allowed to continue to live upstairs and take care of her ailing husband. 6 months after Holmes arrives, Mr. Holton passes away. Not long after, she approached Holmes for the money that he owed her for the store. And shortly after that, she files a lawsuit for
I thought you were
non-payment.
going to say that they found her dead.
Noticing the absence of Miss Holton, Holmes tells their patrons that she, quote, left for California to visit family.
He killed her.
Later, this story would change, and he would tell them she enjoyed it so much that she decided to take up permanent residence there. No one can say for sure what happened to Miss Holton, but my bet is that he disposed of her.
You think?
Now, keep in mind, Holmes still has these bodies that he had planned to use for the life insurance scheme.
How?
Still has these bodies in storage.
What do you mean in storage? Were they like in formaldehyde or anything?
In a trunk, decomposing. Now, with the authorities knocking on his door regarding these debts that he's owed, he decides at this point it's time to dispose of them. He does this by burning them in a large furnace, but says in his journals later that the stench was so awful that he, quote, thought it not safe to destroy more in the same way. Authorities would later find pieces of bone from this body after he was arrested. He disposed of the smaller body, which was the child that he obtained for this scam. Quote, so that it is hardly probable it will ever be found, and I do not feel called upon to bring it forth, as it would only serve to add more newspaper notoriety to the case. These were the words that he had written in his own journal while in prison. Holmes has an idea for a bigger dream than the drugstore. When a vacant property comes up for sale across the street, he ends up obtaining this property. He declares that this building is going to be the most magnificent building in Inglewood. Inside, however, would soon become the very home of a death mansion. Locals would nickname this new building the Castle. From the outside, it looked like a castle, but on the inside, it was so much more. Holmes would consistently hire and fire teams of laborers, so his plans were never truly revealed to one person. Within this hire and fire, he would neglect to pay their workers, stating the work had been unsatisfactory. Really, Holmes was obtaining free labor. This building would have 3 floors. The bottom would consist of commercial properties, including his drugstore that he would move over, a restaurant, a jewelry store, a barber shop, and a blacksmith shop. The 3rd floor would be in which Holmes himself would live, along with other various office space or rooms to rent out. That 2nd floor, that would turn out to be a twisted labyrinth, a maze of 35 rooms that were devised specifically as killing chambers. Also included were staircases and doors that led to dead ends, designed to inflict terror upon any who entered it. Holmes knew that no one would leave the 2nd floor unless he allowed them to. One of the worst fixtures on the 2nd floor was designed to be a body chute that was greased and ready to dispose of the bodies easily and privately right down to the basement. The basement, it was equipped with torture devices, dissection tables, and a furnace for a glass bending business, lime pits, a device called the rack, and even a crematorium. Now, the rack he had created, and I'm sure you've heard of the rack. Maybe not? No? Okay. So the rack
Why
is
would you
almost...
think that I have heard of that before?
So the rack is almost like a medieval torture device.
Oh,
but he
please tell me about it.
I'm
Please.
going to. I'm so glad you asked. So he actually created his own, and it's a rack where you would literally tie... So you would be splayed out on this rack. You would have your arms tied to this, these bars or whatever here, and your legs. And it would have a crank or a pulley system.
Yeah, I don't particularly want to hear this.
And you would crank it, and as you would, it would eventually pull your arms and your legs off your body. Like, just pull you apart. That's what it was.
What evil? What?
I didn't make the rules.
It just makes me, God, stuff like that makes me so angry.
Yeah.
It actually makes me angry.
Yeah, that was a thing. But he made his own.
And I guess it's a good thing that I don't understand, because if I did, I would be psychotic. I just don't understand.
Are you calling me psychotic?
I don't understand. No, because, I understand, the mechanics of it. I don't understand how somebody can be so evil.
Oh, yeah. How somebody can come up with the idea that I'm going to place you on this rack and I'm going to pull you apart.
I don't understand that. I don't
know.
I don't know.
I guess maybe if someone harmed one of my children or a child in front of me, I would totally do that. But, just to do it for just the heck of it, I don't get it. I don't get it. Being the con man he so greatly was, he purchased most of these items on credit, including a large bank vault. He had given the name Campbell when signing the contracts, so that any time creditors came a-knocking, Mr. Campbell was nowhere to be found. When the bank came to repo the vault, they found that Holmes had built it into a room, and they were unable to remove it. One thing was missing from Holmes' life. A wife. Yes, he was still legally married to Clara, but that was as Herman Mudgett, and she was back in New Hampshire. He had a new identity as H.H. Holmes. So he soon meets Miss Murda Belknap, who was from Minnesota. So Holmes sends Murda a letter requesting her to come to Chicago. Now, once arriving, he puts her to work in his drugstore. 2 years later, they're married and they had a daughter. Now, Murta quickly becomes fed up with running the drugstore and complained to Holmes. And he begins to realize she's kind of an inconvenience to him and puts her in charge of managing the books. That way, it keeps her busy and it keeps her occupied. So he can have, all the time he needs to run these schemes and manage his businesses. Now, as he's building this hotel, in 1888, needing a carpenter and responding to an ad in the paper, Holmes would meet Benjamin Pitezel. Pitezel had a large family and he needed a job. Pitezel was also, like Holmes, a country boy, but had not received the advantages of an education that he had received. He had married early on and shortly got into legal trouble with a bank and had to move. By the time Holmes hired Pitezel, he had committed many crimes of theft and forgery. Desperate men will do desperate things. He began to drink heavily and was soon so desperate, Holmes had no problem controlling Pitezel. He was a terrible worker, but Holmes seen something of that in himself when he looked at Pitezel. So, Benjamin Pitezel becomes Holmes' right-hand man. Pitezel would oversee the work being done on the mansion. He used Pitezel to help commit frauds and schemes, and in turn, he would share the profits with him. Now that Pitezel was there and taking care of most of the work, he really missed his pastime, death and dissection. Holmes would take the life of what is believed to be his first victim that we know of inside his murder mansion in 1980. He met Julia.
Hold on, 1980.
I mean 1890.
I was going to say, oh my God, this guy's 120 years old.
I'm a little dyslexic. I did say 1980.
I know you did.
Sorry. In 1890, he meets Julia Connor, who is employed as his assistant. Later, Julia would also move into the apartments within the mansion with her young daughter, Pearl. Holmes becoming very controlling, she wasn't allowed to leave unless she let Holmes know where she was. But despite this behavior, she actually felt pretty safe. A few months after moving into the mansion, she discovers she is pregnant and demands Holmes marries her because obviously, in the 1800s, having a baby out of wedlock is not cool. Not cool at all. She knew what shame would be brought upon her for having a child out of wedlock. So Julie had not known that Holmes' wife Murda was living right there in the same complex. Holmes told Julia, sure, I'll marry you, but first, I'm going to need to perform an abortion. She agrees. After all, he is a doctor.
Oh, Lord.
Holmes lures her to a room
Elisa,
where he has a fake medical room set up. He would later confess he did perform an abortion on her, but Julia passed away from complications of the procedure. After her death, he dissected her and removed her organs right down to her skeleton. He sold that to a local college for a small profit. Now here was a way to satisfy his dark obsession with dissection and death and make money from it as well. A year after Julia's death, he claims his next victim, Wade Warner. Warner was a furnace designer who was tasked with designing and installing a heating system in the castle. Holmes never intended to pay Warner and decided since he couldn't swindle him, he might as well kill him. On the guise of checking out the furnace, Holmes led Warner into it and shut the door, trapping Warner inside. Once trapped, Holmes turned on the oil and the steam and left him to burn. Holmes later admits that when he opened the door sometime later, that not even his bones remained. I call bullcrap because we've had this conversation. Bones, even minimal bones, will remain.
Well, he probably sold them.
Well, that very true. Now, his third victim would be Emmeline Segrind, who had probably replaced Julia as a bookkeeper. She, too, had an affair with Holmes, but when she became suspicious of his workings, he led her into the bank vault on the second floor, locked her inside, sealing the vault, causing Segrind to suffocate to death. A week later, University of Chicago purchased a female skeleton from H.H. Holmes. So we know that was the fate of Segrind. At this point, Murda begins to realize Holmes has basically cast her away to work for him. She decides to pack up and leave and go back to Minnesota. Their daughter Lucy would grow up to be a school teacher. In 1893, Holmes would set his eye on a new lady, Minnie Williams. Now, Minnie was set to inherit a very valuable property, so this made her even more appealing to him. He invites her to become his personal secretary, and as with his prior ladies, she moves into the mansion. It would later be upon the promise of marriage, Minnie would sign over her property and meet the very same fate that Sigrun had met, suffocation inside the bank vault. On a roll now, Holmes decides to sell this new land for profit and travels to Denver, Colorado to see some creditors he hadn't yet scammed. Upon his arrival, he meets Georgiana Yoke, who would soon become his wife. Do you see a pattern emerging here?
I feel like he's got all kinds of wives.
He's got a lot of wives. Now, with the promise of an elaborate life, she comes back to Chicago with Holmes. At the same time I put 1983. In 1893.
You're killing me.
I did. I don't know. It's just so far back. My mind just won't compute. In 1893, while Holmes is honing in on his next victim, history is being made in Chicago. The world's largest fair, known as the World's Columbian Exposition, or the Chicago's World Fair, had opened to the public. It spanned 600 acres and was visited by over 2 million people during its 6-month run. Now, it was located just a few miles from his mansion, and he used it as a ploy to swindle investors' money. He would acquire investors, stating he would purchase furniture to complete the hotel accommodations, but then he would never pay them back. He would also visit the fair frequently to find his favorite item, wealthy women, whom he could scam out of money and feed his morbid desire for death and dissection.
I don't know how these people had life insurance and couldn't figure out, like they could handle life insurance, but the police officers couldn't figure out that there's a murderer on the loose.
The fair fed him a host of new skeletons to sell for profit, and by using people who weren't from around the area, lessened his chances of detection. The fair was a very good place for Holmes, but by its end, he was facing creditors yet again. Now, his right-hand man, Pitzel, was also drinking heavily and was demanding more and more money from Holmes. Their relationship was quickly deteriorating. Holmes convinced Pitzel to run the insurance scam that he had wanted to pull years prior. They would set Pitzel's wife, Carrie, as a beneficiary. Then they're going to travel to Philly and stage Pitzel's death and use a cadaver as proof of death. After the insurance paid the funds, they would then split it and he would be united back with his wife.
Well, no
and his
wonder
children.
life insurance is so expensive.
Right.
I mean, my Lord, these people are, the life
Left
insurance
and right,
people
baby.
are kind of, ignorant, like.
Yeah. So while traveling, Holmes gets arrested and he chats with a gangster in the cell. The gangster gives him the name of a very crooked lawyer to help with the papers. Holmes agrees once the deed's done, he'll pay the lawyer $500. Now, once in Philly, they rented an apartment and set up the alias as a patent dealer. One day, a local inventor shows up for his appointment, but sees no one upon his arrival. He walks through the office and enters the upstairs living area. There, he's met with the most gruesome thing. Lying right there was an unrecognizable body with a face that was burnt beyond recognition. Upon the arrival, the police decide the body belonged to Benjamin Pitzel, whom died due to a chemical explosion.
But he didn't really.
When coroners examined the body, large amounts of chloroform were found inside his stomach. They believed he had drunk it prior to the explosion. But if he had, how had the explosion occurred? So the insurance people demand for some of Pitzel's family members to come out and identify the body, which seems legit. So Holmes is like,
it seems like it's the least they could do.
They're just doing their job. So Holmes finds this out, and he goes and he gets 2 of the Pitzel children to bring them back to identify the body. So Alice, who's the oldest of the Pitzel's daughter, identifies the body, and the death was ruled an accident, and Carrie collected the insurance money. Now, even though Holmes assured her that Pitzel was tucked away hiding, Holmes had never intended to split the proceeds. He had never found a cadaver to convince police otherwise. He had just outright murdered Pottsell.
So it really was him.
Yeah, it was. So at this point, Holmes is corresponding back and forth with Carrie, because he has her kids. And the goal was after they got the money, the entire family was going to meet back up out west. So he had used the children to help identify the body. So now Carrie's like, where are my children?
Where are her children?
She travels across the U.S. and Canada while Holmes is saying that they need to lay low. Holmes now has all 3 children with him, and Carrie still believes that they're going to reunite and head west. Now, this is how he would obtain the money she received for the insurance policy. He would send letters saying that he needed more and more money to care for the kids until it was safe for them to reunite. Wanting what was best for them, she always sent the money. Now, little did Carrie know, Holmes had killed the kids at the very beginning of their travels. Traveling light and keeping the money for himself. What he failed to realize, you can't just cross a mobster lawyer and walk away. Forgetting or either opting not to pay the lawyer calls and reports the scheme that Holmes and Pottsell had planned to carry out against the insurance company. The insurance company doesn't take too lightly on fraud, and they hire the Pinkerton Detective Agency to investigate.
I've heard of them before.
Yes, we have. And we may hear the Pinkerton, some of them in some future cases, because they were a very big detective agency back then.
Yes, they were.
Yes. November 19th of 1894, H.H. Holmes was found and arrested for the murder of Benjamin Pottsell. Holmes insisted that Pottsell had committed suicide, but no one believed him. What of the children, they asked. Frank Geyer was tasked to find out what happened to the Pottsell children. Holmes sends him again on a hunt for the 3 children that they seem to have trouble locating. Eventually, Geyer is able to trace Holmes' movements with the kids and found an apartment that he had stayed in with a cellar. Within that cellar was a small grave containing 2 of the Pottsell kids. Holmes eventually told Geyer that he had locked the 2 girls, Nellie and Alice, in a trunk and siphoned gas into it until they asphyxiated. The remains of Howard Pottsell would later be found at a different location in a different home that they had rented while they were traveling. Holmes confessed that he gave the young boy drugs, and then once he was dead, he dismembered his body before burning it. Geyer would be able to confirm the death. Once a warrant was obtained, officers began to search the Inglewood property, the mansion. Finding nothing on the 3rd floor and not understanding the insane layout of the 2nd, they moved to the basement. What they found there led to the building's new name, the Murder Hotel. This is where I'm going to leave you for part 2.
Okay.
Bum, 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 bum.
Bum, 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 bum.
So, lot of stuff going on.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I
so
don't really have a comment on it because I don't.
So his whole ploy, and I feel like his motivation here was the big motivator right at the beginning was money.
Right.
I mean, he's obsessed with money and being rich.
Mm-hmm.
So he also has this weird morbid obsession with bodies.
This reminds me of that one we did where that guy was selling cows or something.
Oh, you're talking
What was
about
that
the
one about?
farmers, farm to table.
Yeah.
Where
we've done so many of these, I don't even remember now.
it's not. I keep wanting to bring up Fred and Rosemary West, and
No,
it
it
is
wasn't.
not it.
Are you sure?
No, it's
Okay.
not. It's oh my gosh, what were their names? I can't think of their names, but I know who you're talking about.
But
it was
that's
the
kinda-
the old man.
Where they had that scheme with all that stuff and they were just obsessed with money.
Yeah. Do anything to turn a profit.
What is it that it says? Does it say it in the Bible? I'm not for sure if it says it in the Bible or not,
A
but I've
man
heard it.
and his money are soon, or a man A fool and his money are soon parted.
No, mine
Something like that.
is, and I don't know if it's, it is easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than a rich man get to heaven.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the one I mentioned.
Yeah.
But throughout this whole thing, his whole scheme and his whole plan the whole time was he would always marry these women who were wealthy or when he had something to gain by the marriage. And then he'd kill them. And then he'd inherit whatever property or money or whatever they had. And it was an easy way for him to feed his weird obsession with killing and dissecting, articulating, and selling these bodies. Because I think in one book I read, like, he could sell these articulated skeletons to these schools and doctors' offices for like $200.
You would think they'd say, "Hey, bub, where'd you get that at?"
Well, they didn't care. That's the ironic thing about it, is these universities that were teaching education, they had trouble finding cadavers, finding these to teach people. Because in the medical field, it is very, very valuable for you to work on a human body, as it is today. You know, people nowadays, you can sign a paper signing your body over to science and research. Well, back then, they would even send these students to rob the graves. And in one of the book I read, the dean or president of the college said, if we have to, we'll arm them with shotguns while they dig them up. Like, they were needed that badly.
I'm pretty sure that colleges and universities, for the most part, are still that evil.
I mean, probably.
Maybe just like hush hush about it. But
probably.
I really feel like it's probably still pretty evil.
Yeah, but
I think most things are probably evil. So
yeah. Everything's evil. So evil.
I think everything's a little shady.
Yeah,
I do think everything's shady.
Yeah, I agree. Nothing is what it seems. It's always a hidden message.
No, I will tell you something else too. Hold on, I got a cough. So I said yesterday's podcast, but on the last podcast, number 39.
Yes.
39?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is number 40.
This is 40.
Whoop,
So
whoop.
on 39, you had said one thing in there. I said, well, we need somebody to talk to. You know who we should have picked? And you said Holly. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, no, it shouldn't be Holly. It should have been Jade. And I was like, Holly's worse than I am. I was wrong.
I know you were. I wasn't going to correct you in front of everybody.
Well, I was talking to her today, right? I mean, I knew that she researched and stuff like that, but I did not know how much she researched. And so she was telling me about this one guy, and I can't think of his name, Crowley. And I think he's the first satanic person, something. It's something like that. And so she and I were talking back and forth. And so I Googled him, right? And he's super scary. Super, super scary. I didn't read a whole lot about him.
Well, you know what?
I want to say Alliston. But while I was reading on it, Ozzy Osbourne, you know that song, Mr. Crowley?
Uh-huh. Come on?
It is. No, it didn't come on. That song is about him.
Oh. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Holly needs to come and do a podcast episode.
I think she would be.
Tell us about Mr. Crowley.
Well, I think that, yeah, she totally could do that. But she actually could do that. I don't know how many people would want to hear that. How many people do you think want to hear that? Do you want to hear that?
Everybody's intrigued by the unknown.
I don't even like she was like, oh, I read about this and stuff. Now Holly's a Christian and doesn't get into that stuff. But I'm more of ignorance is bliss, right? Yeah. I feel like I just need to know enough stuff to keep me and my family safe. Other than that, I don't want to know. I don't want to know the bad stuff that's out there because there's nothing I can do about it. My grandpa told me one time, he was like, why are you worrying about something there's nothing you can do about?
No control over.
And I am a self-proclaimed worrywart. So the less I know, the better. So I am in the ignorance is bliss. Holly is in know all the information or as much as you can and guard yourself with education. Right?
I like it.
Educate yourself on it. So we're two totally different people when it comes to that. Like I like to know just enough,
To put up a wall.
To put up a wall and make sure, and to know stuff. And she wants to know all of it to guard herself.
That way she can put up a specialized wall to battle.
Right. So we're totally different in that. So when I was talking to her today and we were texting back and forth, I was like, I don't even like reading about this stuff. Like, I don't, I read that and it came up the Ozzy Osbourne thing and like this dude did like human sacrifice and stuff. Like he's bad news. Mm-hmm. But another thing that she said too, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong. She'll probably listen to this and she'll text me. This guy, is it Satanist? I don't even like saying it out loud.
Satanist?
Yeah. Okay. He drew the first demon. He drew a picture of the demon like through seances and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it is the original picture of what everybody thinks aliens look like. Like, she can tell you all about this stuff.
I'm interested.
Like,
now.
it's weird. It's weird. Like, the picture, like, I saw the picture, and it looks like an alien, and then all these aliens look like... I don't know. It's super strange. It's super, super strange. And he named his kids all these weird names, like... crazy. I mean, he was. But another thing, she was like, I used to do research on this and look in Google and stuff, and Google would come up and be like, all this Satanist stuff. Like, he was bad. And now if you look it up, he was a teacher and a prophet. And it's changed.
Oh, yeah.
It's changed.
It's changing the perception.
Yeah, because the agenda has changed.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because the agenda's changed.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's very weird. Like, I would like for her to come and talk about it. I just don't know, like for me, like, I would never tune into a podcast that was talking about that. Like, I just would not.
Yeah.
Now, to sit and discuss it, just to sit here with you all, like, to discuss it and stuff and have, like...
A conversation.
Because there's bad things out there. And we live in our own little bubble right here.
Well, we are a conversational podcast, so we are down for good, in-depth conversations at any time.
But there's some stuff out there, and she definitely knows about. I mean, she does know about it. So I was wrong. Like I was definitely wrong when I said not Holly. Now it's like Holly more than anybody I know.
She was like Holly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, stay tuned for the next episode. We're gonna leave you here with part 2. Y'all be sure to hit the follow button and listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to go and leave us a review.
But now next week's not part 2 for this.
No.
This will be a while.
Yeah, because they're not going to be consecutive because there's so much. I mean, I'm talking like I'm probably 8 books deep in right now and documentaries. Like I'm in sponge mode right now, so I'm actively writing part 2.
The next one that we do though is back to paranormal stuff, right? Because I thought you said that to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because we're hoping to have a guest.
Yes.
Or somebody to sit in. Anywho. But leave us a review on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, because that helps us, guys. Hit the follow button. Help us grow. Share with your friends, your families, your coworkers. Email us at watchfordearpodcast@gmail.com. Like and follow us on Insta and Facebook at Watch for Dear Podcast. Y'all be safe and watch for deer.